Hello everyone, this is Jotto and welcome to Versus Series, where a member of my team, Acebreakers, faces off against a well-known up-and-coming pro player. Now for this week we have JamesHugs from Acebreakers facing off against Jirachi from Gamer Connect. Now, quick thank you to all the people who tuned in for the Gauntlet of Legends semi-finals. I think it went quite smoothly, besides a couple of disconnecting problems at the beginning. But anyway, the finals will be on next Thursday, so be sure to tune into that. My Twitch is in the description. If you missed the event and want to catch the videos, they're on Twitch and should be on my YouTube channel tomorrow, depending on how cooperative Twitch is. But anyway, without further ado, let's get started with the first game, shall we? Now, there is a blinky bar at the bottom, as you may notice. That is going to be gone in a couple of turns, so just deal with it. Basically, Hearthstone hates me when it comes to resolutions, and each time the friend list breaks, you have to restart Hearthstone. That's the short gist of it. And if Hearthstone changes resolutions while you're recording, you get the weird blinky resolution-y bar thing. So that should be gone in probably about 2 turns. So anyway, there is a Druid with Wild Growth and Shade, which leads me to believe that this is some sort of ramp deck, possibly with 1 or 2 combos. And then the other deck, which James is running, is the hand lock. Yeah, resolution change. Yes, this was incredibly annoying while recording. But anyway, so turn 1 Shade, very, very strong. And then there's the Wild Growth turn 2. So quite a strong opening. There's also a Big Game Hunter in there. See if I can just fix this in the background. And it's done. Alright. Anyway. Big Game Hunter is going to be very, very necessary in this matchup. However, there is a Twilight Drake instead. So unless there is a Keeper, this Twilight Drake is going to do some serious work. Turn 3's Engine, pretty handy. And then the response would be a turn 4 Twilight Drake. Now, the composition of this Handlock's hand is rather interesting. There's 2 Sun Furies, and only 2 things to give Taunt to, realistically. There's a Hellfire, won't be doing that much. I mean, it's a bit too late for Hellfire. Going for the Drake is interesting and quite intelligent because he can't Keeper or silence it yet. So if he's got Keeper, he still needs to trade into it with something. Whereas Big Game Hunter just completely probably loses you the game. So going for the Twilight Drake over that Giant. If it was turn 6 coming up, or turn 5 technically with the Wild Growth coming up for the Druid, then I think the Giant may have been the better play. But it wasn't. Yeah, this Warlock's hand it's quite powerful, but he's taking a lot of damage and there's nothing to punish this. Anti-Killbot is quite handy. I think we're going to see a Mortal Coil and then maybe silence the Shade. Yeah, I think you silence the Shade, and then you could even taunt up if you wanted to. Or just play Ancient Watcher and then taunt up next turn. I would personally taunt up the Drake. Stops the Iron Beak Owl from dying to the hero power. Slight mistake there. Means that this owl can just die to hero power, which is very unnecessary. Now, this is the problem with playing Zombie Chow in this kind of deck right now, is the metagame is slowed down a reasonable amount, so you can get away without it, but sometimes it just creates hands like this, where you just have 2 Zombie Chows that are doing literally nothing. So we're going to see a Shade come down here, and that's pretty much all he's got left. There's this Big Game Hunter as a response, but that's about it. Now I expect we're going to see a Giant, and then next turn probably Healbot. Lotheb is a pretty decent draw. I think you Lotheb Big Game Hunter and then just pass. I mean, you could go Coin Zombie Chow. Which, I don't know, I don't think you want to heal him up at this point. Question is, how do you deal with this as the Warlock? There's Dark Bomb. You could play a Giant and then taunt it up. I think that's the correct play. Bit worried about dying to combo at this stage. There's two cards that haven't been moving at all. And that looks to be what we're going to see. Something interesting to note, by the way, is that you can take a lot of information from the fact that there are two cards in this hand that haven't moved. The third one, however, if you keep tabs on it, is in fact the coin, and you can tell this because it is the rightmost card in your opponent's hand when they go second. At the beginning of the game. The silence is not fantastic here. I think you have to kill the Giant and then silence the Drake and kill that with hero power. I think that's the only way that you can play this. But this does not look like a good position for Jirachi, and this looks like a game which, unless something spectacular happens, I think Mr. Hugs is going to be taking this one. I think what he's tanking on is actually whether or not to play these chows. I don't know if you can, but then if you don't, you lose, and you're basically betting on no taunts and also no healing, and then drawing combo over the next 2 turns. So yeah, going for that silence play. Now, quite frankly, I would just Dark Bomb this 2-4, this Keeper, and then play anti-kill bomb. You could even tap if you wanted to. Let's see if the sequencing mistake comes in at the end here. Just not going for the tap. That's interesting. Actually, I guess the Dr. Boom can serve as a sort of way of just killing your opponent at this point. Yeah, having to go for double chow just to try and get the board back. Makes sense. Siphon Soul heals for 8. That's a lot of healing, but I think at this point this is going to be life tap into Boom, and then just kill one, gain 5 life. Yeah, once you get to this stage, it really is a case of just watching the handlocks try to kill their opponent, which does take a little bit of time, a couple of turns. But this has always been the weakness with ramp Druid decks, is that they do have a lot of cards in their deck that don't really do anything. You're running double combo, and also Wild Growth, and also Zombie Chow. The density of cards in your deck, where if you just draw all of them, is a bit high. We saw this last week with Meta, where he got completely messed up by Druid draws in the last one. He just drew all the same cards, basically. And that something similar happened this time. Not to the same extreme, but something similar nonetheless. Yeah, you Hellfire here, get some extra damage in, see where this Boombot goes, and you may get lethal. Nope, 3 off. The RNG was not with him. But the Lilith Ebb shuts down pretty much everything. You can coin for -3, it's like -4 mana. But anyway, so game 1 goes to JamesHugs playing the Handlock. Now the response is a Rogue. Rogue is okay versus Handlock, and the reason is because they can do a lot of burst damage. Rogue has really come back into its own after the Undertaker nerf. I expect this is some sort of Sharp Sword oil deck. A lot of them have been playing it just with damage efficiency. See if we can move this up a bit. Nope, it is actually just at that resolution. So yeah, we'll just have to deal with that because you may notice that the bottom hand is a little bit lower down than it should be, but not much I can do about that. Again, Hearthstone resolutions are quite annoying. basically the problem is, and for anyone who has problems with Hearthstone resolutions when recording, that's how you fix it. You select the correct one, then you have to resize Hearthstone slightly, and then it fixes it. Because it doesn't actually switch it to the resolution you asked for when you go into the options menu, which is a bit annoying, quite frankly. So yeah, Dark Bomb in the 3/3. Next turn, Sludge Belcher into Sludge Belcher, or you can also go Twilight Drake. Now, there was an argument for going Twilight Drake there. The problem is that messes up your double 5-drop hand. The last card in the hand there is a Hellfire. It's getting a bit buried by the bottom of the screen. Now, if you look at the Rogue's hand, this is one of those hands that doesn't actually do much. So playing out the Blood Mage here makes a lot of sense. You need to draw an extra card. There is also a Azure Drake in there, which means that you can draw one extra card, try and get a bit deeper in the deck. I think this is a Drake. Yeah, play the Drake. Anti-heal bot's going to be very, very good. There is a double Eviscerate, though, which will do a ton of damage. I think this is just Drake. I mean, you could go Backstab, Eviscerate. That's 3 + 5, 8, and then Dagger. That seems kind of over the top, though. I don't know. Do you do that? Interesting. This is a bit risky. Just deciding to take no damage. So this is when the Sludge Belchers start raining, and the Rogue is in not the best situation right now. There's going to need to be a couple of very good draws. So the problem with playing it like I did last turn is that this has to be some sort of Fan of Knives to combo Eviscerate if that's the way it wants to go. You could play the Drake. Alright, going for the Fan of Knives. This is going to be Fan of Knives Eviscerate. Try and just kill it off completely. Or even Fan of Knives trade. But then that leaves you in a really bad spot, giving the opponent initiative. And I mean, what do I mean by that? I mean, basically that the hand lock has an empty board they can play a threat onto that you have to answer instead of the other way around. So having to use both Eviscerates for clear is not fantastic, but necessary. At this point, I would be getting a little bit worried about the Rogue in this situation. Sharp Sword Oil, that's going to be handy. Question is how handy. I think at this point you sacrifice the Blood Mage. What do you actually do here? This is a very good question. I think you can sacrifice the Blood Mage and then use Sharp Sword Oil. Problem is that gives you nothing else to play. What about Loatheb and then just try and get on the board a bit more? That's a pretty good draw. Doesn't allow this to be cleared though. Clear the 3/5 part. Sacrificing the Blood Mage. And then just clearing it out with a dagger. Alright. That was a very awkward turn for Jirachi. Very, very awkward. Second Molten Giant's going to be pretty handy here. Could go Siphon Soul. Yeah, I think Siphon Soul is perfectly fine here. Now, James is in a bit of a weird spot because the entire composition of his hand is basically AoE and unplayable cards. Whereas if you look at the other side, that is the most ridiculous Blade Flurry I have ever seen. That Blade Flurry is going to be spectacular. What, 4, 6? That's a 16 damage Blade Flurry. That's like total if you attack face as well. That's insane. Ancient Watcher comes down here. Sprint. I think Sprint is perfectly okay. Very, very good top deck. Into a sap. Wow, that's going to be really useful. I think the Rogue is probably going to win from here, personally. Question is, what do you do with this Ancient Watcher? Yeah, I think you ignore it. Let the Watcher watch. How many cards are in hand, actually? Is that 9? Yeah, I think that's 9. Yeah, I think the correct play there was Dr. Boom. But I also happen to know that he's dead. That's insane. So you just go poison, poison, sharp sword, oil, blade flurry after attacking the face. That is lethal. And he has in fact spotted it. So Jirachi takes game number 2, keeping the series going, as we're going to be going to a game number 3. As they are tied 1-1. Crazy burst damage, and wiped the entire board as well. That was nuts. What's this? A hunter? Now this is favored for the hunter, but hunter is a deck which we talked a little bit about on the gauntlet, and we also talked a bit about yesterday after the Undertaker nerf. And quite frankly, I think hunter's still very, very strong. It's one of those classes that people are just avoiding. However, while the deck is very strong, if you notice, Jirachi's opening hand is the almost unbeatable, for aggro decks, double SI7 backstab coin. I have yet to see a aggro deck beat double SI7 backstab coin, because it completely wipes out the first 2 threats for free, basically, and then also the next 2 with the 3/3s, or just kills you. So this is going to be very difficult to deal with. However, if there is a deck that can, it is definitely the hunter because of all these death rattles. Still having resolution problems. See if I can fix this. I think this one is actually fixable, if I recall correctly. Yep, I think this one is actually fixable. Yeah, because in game 3, the resolution didn't break, because the friends list didn't. Between game 2 and game 3, it didn't break, so I didn't have to restart Hearthstone, so it was absolutely fine. So anyway, coin SI7 turns out to be the play there. Tanking for most of the turn there, but that kind of makes sense. That's not what you really want to be doing, is taking out Monster Creeper with a full set. As you see, an Undertaker. Now, this is a current version Undertaker. However, it turns out Undertaker is still a decent 1-drop for the Deathrattle deck. I mean, after all, it still gets bigger and bigger and bigger. Trade Prince Gallywix, always a fun card to see. I haven't seen it been doing too much recently, but I think that's because the only games I've seen it actually played in are against matchups where a 6-mana 5/8 isn't that good. Basically, the really aggro ones. Now, at this point, I think we could see... I think Knife Juggler Mad Scientist makes sense here, and the reason for it is because there's a bow on the board. Double Kill Command may be the decider in this game, but it's going to be very close. As we're going to see a backstab SI7 clear, full clear. And there's also an anti-heal bot. I honestly don't see the hunter winning this. This seems almost impossible to beat. This is practically a god draw on Jirachi's side of things. Houndmaster, interesting. I think killing the 3/3 is fine here, and then just playing out the Undertaker and hero powering and hope for the best. Okay, actually playing out the Houndmaster. Yeah, I could see that. Problem is you don't get any value out of it, but... Yeah, actually, I think playing the 4-mana 4/3, as painful as it is to play Houndmaster without a target, sometimes it's necessary. Now, I'm assuming that this Houndmaster is a one-off, because most decks don't play 2, if they play Houndmaster at all. Simply because drawing 2 feels really bad. Having the 1 is pretty handy, though. It gives you the nice taunt from time to time. I mean, my hope is still that we get some sort of mid-rangey Hunter deck that's truly mid-rangey, not just sort of aggro with a 6-drop. Now, this looks like deadly poison, and the race is on, going straight to the face. Explosive doesn't do much here, and then backstab the 1/2 makes perfect sense. So, Jirachi is going to win in 4 turns, essentially, or 3 turns. So, let's see if... What's faster? The Hunter or the Rogue? Keep in mind the Rogue has an anti-kill bot, but then there's 2 kill commands, so those kind of cancel out almost. I think this is Trade Prince Gallywix. This is where things get interesting, because if there's a web spinner off the top, he wins. It's an Animal Companion. Alright, I think you play Animal Companion here, and then trade the 2/2 into the 5/8. Get a trap out here, hopefully freezing. I don't know the trap composition. Could be freezing, snake trap, or explosive. Sometimes there's 2. Going for that Animal Companion. In fact, I could actually see going for the kill command and the coin hero power just to keep mana flowing, so you can actually draw a bigger beast and kill him with a hero power if it's a smaller one. Yeah, you can't miss damage here. I think coin kill command is perfectly acceptable. Not going for it. There is, however, an Animal Companion in the Rogue's hand because of the Trade Prince, which is kind of funny. Yeah, Animal Companion is a spell, it's not a minion. Going for the anti-heal bot, I would say, is essential here, and then you need to try and clear some of this. So there's going to be an Eviscerate, and then hit the face with the 5 damage weapon. This is going to come down to a top deck. It's a freezing. Alright, so that saves some damage. This is going to get extremely close. Kazan Mystic. Trade, play Kazan Mystic, hero power, and then hope for the best. Alright, so there is an Animal Companion in hand. Sap, I think you definitely played the Animal Companion, without question. You also sap the 4/3, that's also without question. I would definitely go Animal Companion, and if it's Misha or if it's Huffer, you win. If it's Misha, they can't really get past it, so you basically win. If it's Leok, that's annoying, but you sap the Kazan Mystic. So I think Jirachi has this game. I don't think he can lose from here. I can't think of a card that could be top decked. Like, Animal Companion into Huffer is 9 mana with kill command, so couldn't even kill him. So you play Animal Companion, Huffer. Why? No! Oh my god, that's a win! That should not have happened. Jirachi should have won that game. That was such a major misplay. As we're going to see 1,000,000 coins. Also, my mistake. Animal Companion to Huffer was lethal because you can use the Gallywix coins to get an extra hero power in. But that was a pretty major mistake there to end the series. It's interesting because sometimes you don't think about it, but yeah, if it was Misha or Huffer, and you definitely sapped the 4-3. I don't know what he was saving sapped for. So I think that was a pretty major mistake to win the series there. But anyway, overall, it was actually a pretty decent series. We did have the Handlock showing up. Handlock is coming back into fashion. It was out for a bit. And Ramp Druid just doesn't seem to do well on these these shows. It just doesn't. It always draws the worst half of its deck. So that's 2 weeks in a row where Ramp Druid has just failed miserably, even though the deck is very, very powerful. And then that Rogue dealing its massive 20 damage combo in one turn was really unexpected, and it's something quite interesting that Rogue can just pull off those kinds of damage combos. But anyway, the deck list will be in the description below, so if you want to check those out, they will be down below. That's for now. This has been Jotto. Thank you all for watching. If you like the content, please subscribe. If you have any feedback, put it in the comment section below. This is me, signing off.